Chapter 5 The Burning Crusade. The Lord of Outland. Years before the assault on the Molten Core in Ankirash, conflict raged on the broken realm of Outland. Illidan Stormrage's failed campaign against the Lich King had cost him dearly. He had fled from Northrend, wounded and humiliated, with much of his army broken and bloodied. His defeat had also drawn Kil'jaeden and Zyre. The Demon Lord would not give him another chance to prove his worth, but Illidan didn't need one. The time for feigning subservience to the Legion was over. The time for his true war had begun. Illidan assumed Kil'jaeden would launch an attack on Outland soon, and he strengthened his defenses in preparation. To replenish his army, he transferred his captured Pit Lord Magtheridon to Hellfire Citadel, former capital of the old Horde. Illidan's servants bound the demon in enchanted bonds within the stronghold. They siphoned Magtheridon's blood from his veins and infused it into hundreds of orcs, transforming them into ruthless, battle-crazed soldiers. As Illidan's army grew, so did its need for provisions. Most of Outland was a dust-blown wasteland. Food was scarce, water even more so. Illidan sent Lady Vashj and her Naga to secure resources in one of the few regions that still had them, Zangramarsh. Zangramarsh had once been a vast sea, but the destruction of Draenor had transformed it into a swampy mire of islands and waterways. The region teemed with creatures of all kinds, from lumbering fungal giants to small primitive sporlings. Zangarmarsh was also home to a considerable population of Draenei and their mutated cousins, the Broken. Lady Vashj and her servants were all suited to the watery terrain, and they quickly spread to the far corners of Zangarmarsh. The Draenei kept to their main refuge, Tel'Redor, and used its defenses to fend off the Naga. Yet, the Broken were not so lucky. In recent years, some of the twisted creatures had mended ties with the Draenei and worked together with them. However, many tribes of Broken roamed the wilds in isolation. Lady Vashj hunted down these groups, and she used many of them as slave labor to forge Coilfang Reservoir in the heart of Zangarmarsh. The massive stronghold housed a complex network of machineries designed to leach water from the swamp. Draining the water threw Zangarmarsh's delicate ecosystem out of balance. Some creatures, like the fungal giants, began to die off. Yet, Lady Vashj cared little about these consequences. Coilfang Reservoir was a success. It was keeping Illidan's army alive. From the Black Temple, Illidan Stormrage oversaw these activities. Most of the Shattered Realm had fallen under his sphere of influence, if not his direct control. Outland was effectively his domain. With his defenses in place, he focused his attention on molding a new weapon to strike at the Legion. Years ago, he had envisioned making warriors in his own image, fellow elves empowered by demonic energy, a fighting force unified by their need for vengeance, willing to sacrifice everything to destroy the Legion. He would call these new warriors Demon Hunters. The Demon Hunters. Illidan Stormrage forged his Demon Hunters from Blood Elves and Night Elves who came from all walks of life. They were sons, daughters, mothers, and fathers. Some were trained in the arts of war, others were simple artisans. The one thing they had in common was the hatred that burned in their souls. They had all lost someone to the Legion, and they were all consumed by a need for vengeance. Illidan trained these elves within the Black Temple, but he kept their existence a secret from the rest of his allies. Even Kael'thas Sunstrider, leader of the Blood Elves, knew only rumors about what was happening. The stories that did reach his ears were grisly and almost too outlandish to believe. The truth was even more unsettling. Illidan gave no quarter to his Demon Hunters during their training. He could not afford weakness in those who would stand by his side against the Legion. He forced each of his servants to eat the flesh of a demon and bind their spirit with the creature. This granted the elves great power as well as vision of the Legion's true nature. What they saw was so shocking, so terrifying, that they cut out their own eyes. Ingesting demon flesh also infused the trainees with foul energy. The elves transformed, sprouting horns and wings much like Illidan's. From that point on, each demon hunter would fight an inner struggle against the monster that lurked in their soul. The spirits of the demons within them would constantly whisper in their minds, urging them to turn on Illidan and give in to the Legion. Few prospective demon hunters survived the training. Most died in the process or were driven to madness. Those who became demon hunters were forever changed by their experiences. Using the portals that remained open on Draenor, Illidan and his servants stormed into worlds controlled by the Legion and slaked their thirst for vengeance with demon blood. For Illidan, these operations were mere overtures for what was to come. It wasn't enough for him to destroy the Legion's agents. He needed to destroy its worlds. Chief among these targets was Argus. It was the Legion's seat of power, home to Kill Jaden and other high-ranking commanders. Due to its location in the twisting nether, any demons Illidan killed there would be gone forever. Destroying an entire world was not beyond Illidan Stormrage. He had studied Draenor's fate, and he had learned how Ner'zhul's uncontrolled spellwork had torn the world asunder. Illidan would do the same to Argus, but first he had to find it. He knew of only one place to look for clues: Nadareza, homeworld of the Dreadlords, and a respiratory of the Legion's arcana and forbidden knowledge. However, it would take time for Illidan to prepare for his assault. Web of Lies. Kil'jaeden had misjudged Illidan Stormrage. He'd once seen the former Night Elf as little more than a troublesome pest, but that was not the case. Illidan had forged an army of fel-empowered warriors. He had found a way to strike at Legion-controlled worlds. Kil'jaeden knew this was only the beginning. Illidan was unpredictable and secretive, but his true motives were now clear. He aimed to destroy the Legion. Kil'jaeden speculated that he might even try to strike against Argus itself. The only question were when and how. If it was war Illidan wanted, Kil'jaeden would indulge him. The Demon Lord immediately dispatched an army to Outland. This force was led by one of Kil'jaeden's most trusted lieutenants, the Doomguard known as High Lord Cruel. Though the demons were eager to spill Illidan's blood, they found it difficult to reach Outland. Illidan and his followers had closed many of the portals of the Shattered Realm. It would take months before Cruel gathered enough demons to establish a foothold on Outland. Kil'jaeden feared that Illidan would launch new attacks on the Legion before Cruel and his forces could mount a proper campaign. Waiting for that to happen was not an option. Kil'jaeden needed another weapon, and he found one amongst his enemies. Illidan's obsession with fighting the Legion was his greatest weakness. In his fervor, he had embraced fel magic and alienated the people of Azeroth. They did not distinguish between him and the Legion. They saw him as a monster. If the Horde and the Alliance learned that he had taken control of Outland and built an army, with demon blood fueling a large part of it, they would stop him. The only thing Azeroth's nation needed to rally their forces against Illidan was a push in the right direction. Kil'jaeden would give them that. As this plan took shape in his mind, Kil'jaeden saw yet another opportunity. If he could manipulate the Horde and the Alliance into committing their resources on Outland, that would leave Azeroth vulnerable to a Legion invasion on a second front. Kil'jaeden would lead this attack himself. The failures of the Lich King, and even of Archimonde, had shown him that he could not rely on anyone else to secure Azeroth for the Legion. Yet, he needed a powerful gateway through which to enter the world. During the Third War, the Legion had tried to seize the Second Well of Eternity on Mount Hyjal to form such a portal. The assault had failed, and the Fount of Magic was now under close watch by the Night Elves. Launching another campaign against Hyjal would draw too much attention. However, there was an alternative: the Sunwell. The Blood Elf Prince, Kael'thas Sunstrider, and his followers had destroyed the Sunwell and dispersed much of its power, but Kil'jaeden had discovered a means to restore it. Following the Third War, what remained of the Legion's army had spread across Azeroth. Kil'jaeden had used these survivors to spy on the world's nations. Through one of his agents, the Demon Lord had learned of a source of power somewhere deep within Quel'Thalas, His most cunning servants had assumed the form of blood elves and infiltrated the kingdom's inner circle. They soon heard about the existence of Evina Teague, an avatar containing the Sunwell's lost energy. She was the key to transforming the Sunwell into a gateway, and so was Kel'Thas. Kil'jaeden's servants on Azeroth were few. Even if they could seize the location of the Sunwell, they were not familiar enough with the fount to empower it using Evina. However, Kel'Thas Sunstrider was. He also knew the region's defenses and how to bypass them. For now, Kil'jaeden simply watched Kel'Thas, waiting for the right moment to win him over to the Legion's side.